He was supposed to win by 30 points, maybe 40. Nobody in that arena thought there was a real competition happening. They thought they were watching a coronation. 6 minutes later, he was in 8th place, and a country called Kazakhstan was celebrating its first Winter Olympic gold medal in history. This is the story of the most shocking collapse in modern figure skating and the 21-year-old who has to live with it for the rest of his life. Milan, February 13, 2026. Ilia Malinin steps onto the ice at the Milano ice skating arena. He hasn't lost a major competition in over 2 years, 14 straight events. He's the only human being who has ever landed a quadruple Axel in competition, a jump so difficult, so dangerous that literally no one else on the planet attempts it. Days earlier, he carried Team USA to gold in the team event, skating in both segments to help his country edge out Japan by a single point. Tonight is supposed to be the easy part. Tonight, he just has to be himself. Scott Hamilton, the 1984 Olympic champion sitting in the broadcast booth, says it plainly before Malinin even takes the ice. There is no way he could lose. Not only no way he could lose, no way he wasn't going to win by 30 points. Think about the weight of that sentence. This isn't a hopeful commentator hyping up a competitor. This is one of the most respected voices in the sport, stating, as fact, that the outcome is already decided. The only question left in everyone's mind is the margin. Watch what happens next. He opens with a quad flip. It lands, but something feels off, not triumphant, almost lucky, like a half-court shot that happened to go in rather than the start of something inevitable. If you watch the replay closely, his shoulders are already tight, his landing is a half-second late. Something in his body is fighting him before the program has even really started. Then comes the moment everyone came to see, the quadruple Axel, the jump only he can do, the jump that made him famous, the jump that broke the sport's own ceiling for what's physically possible. He sets up for it and bails, pulls out mid-rotation, settles for a single. The crowd doesn't cheer, they gasp. That gasp is the sound of 17,000 people realizing something is wrong. He tries to recover. A planned quad loop, he doubles it instead, throwing off his entire rhythm. Then comes the combination that was supposed to save the program. A quad lutz into a triple toe. He falls on the lutz, can't complete the rest, falls again later on another quad after doubling it first, a score so low the judges give him under a single point. For a man who built his entire identity on being the most technically dominant skater alive, that number might as well be 0. Near the end, almost out of nowhere, he throws in a backflip. It's not a scored element, the judges don't recognize it, it earns him nothing on the scoreboard. But in the moment, it reads like something else entirely. A flash of the old defiance. A kid refusing to just disappear quietly, even as the program is already lost. By the time the music stops, he has fallen twice and lost 72 points to deductions and errors. 72 points. That's not a stumble, that's a free fall. In the kiss and cry area, his face says everything before he speaks a single word. And when he finally does talk to the cameras, there's no spin, no deflection, nothing rehearsed. I blew it, he says. That's honestly the first thing that came to my mind. There's no way that just happened. Think about that sentence for a second. Not, I made a mistake, not tough night. I blew it. The kind of thing you say when you already know exactly how bad this is going to look tomorrow, when you're not performing for the cameras anymore. You're just a 21-year-old trying to process what just happened to his own body in real time. And here's where the story gets even more uncomfortable, because days later, on national television, he doesn't just admit he failed, he admits why. He says, the nerves just went so overwhelming, and especially going into that starting pose, I just felt like all the traumatic moments of my life really started flooding my head, and there's just like so many negative thoughts that just flooded into there, and I just did not handle it. That's not an athlete making excuses. That's a 21-year-old describing almost in real time what a panic response feels like while it's happening on the biggest stage in his sport in front of the entire world, with no way to pause, no way to call a timeout, no way to make it stop until the music finally ends. So who actually won? Mikhail Shidorov of Kazakhstan, a skater who was sitting in 6th place after the short program, an afterthought heading into the night, someone barely mentioned in the pre-event coverage. He skates the performance of his life, lands 5 quad jumps, and walks away with gold, his country's first Winter Olympic gold medal ever in any sport. One man's worst night becomes another man's history-making moment in the same 6 minutes on the same sheet of ice in front of the same crowd. Imagine being in Shidorov's skates. You didn't beat the best skater in the world on his best night. You watched him collapse, and you were simply the one left standing when the dust settled. There's no script for how to feel pure joy and quiet disbelief in the same 5 minutes. But that's exactly what he had to do, live, on camera, while Malinin stood a few feet away trying to hold himself together. NBC analyst Tara Lipensky, a 1998 Olympic champion herself, says something on air that captures just how unthinkable this was. She doesn't think it was even technical. She says it was all mental. She says she never thought he could be off the podium, and that's exactly what just happened. 8th place, 264 points, his worst total score in nearly 4 years, a 2-year 14 competition unbeaten streak gone in one program. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This isn't new. This has happened before to athletes just like him. In 2018, Nathan Chen, another can't-lose favorite, fell apart in his Olympic short program under the exact same kind of pressure. He finished 17th. He said the tension built and built until it consumed him, that the closer the moment got, the heavier it became, until there was no room left to actually skate. Chen was actually in the crowd in Milan watching it happen to Malinin in real time, watching a 21-year-old live through the exact nightmare he once lived through himself. Afterwards, he said he could feel exactly what Malinin was going through, almost like watching an old wound reopen on someone else's body. That's the pattern nobody wants to talk about. The closer an athlete gets to a guaranteed gold medal, the more the weight of guaranteed can become the very thing that breaks them. The pressure isn't a side effect of greatness. Sometimes it's the thing that ends it, the invisible force that has nothing to do with skill and everything to do with what happens inside someone's head in the 60 seconds before the music starts. So where does this leave Malinin? Not finished, not even close. He still leaves Milan an Olympic gold medalist from the team event days earlier. And in the closing exhibition gala, with nothing left to prove and nothing left to lose, he skates one final time for the Milan crowd. Clean, confident, exactly the skater everyone expected to see in the individual final, as if the weight that crushed him days earlier had simply lifted the moment the medals stopped mattering. But that gala doesn't erase what happened. It can't. The real test comes next, the World Championships, just weeks away, the exact kind of pressure cooker moment that broke him here. Can he walk back on that ice and be who everyone thought he was before Milan? Or will the moment that flooded his head with every traumatic memory of his life happen again in a different city in front of a different crowd with the whole sport watching to see which version of him shows up? Nobody knew the answer the night this happened. The world was about to find out. If you've ever choked under pressure, in a game, an interview, a moment that mattered more than you wanted it to admit, you already understand exactly what happened to him on that ice. Tell me about your moment in the comments. And subscribe, because what happened next to Ilia Malinin is its own story entirely.